So, hi everyone, it's Penny Tremblay and it's October 2nd already. It's fall, and today I have a great guest on with me. So, I decided to do a video so that you could meet him as well. I belong to a group of speakers, and I listened to a podcast where Greg Schinkel, who's with us here, was being interviewed by my coach about his training company. And Greg's out of London, Ontario, and I listened to it and I thought to myself, I really want to work with that guy someday. So I've watched him, I've been in his audience, and finally, about a month and a half ago, I got his attention. So I'm really super excited about everyone meeting you, Greg Schinkel from Frontline Leadership, because you have a very specific niche market in training, and I think what you have is something that my clients want. So can you tell us a little bit about Frontline Leadership and your laser focused niche market?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Penny. And hello, everybody. Yeah, my name's Greg Schinkel. I run a company called Unique Training and Development, and we created a program called Frontline Leadership to focus really on this, as you said, Penny, this laser niche of supervisors who are in a manufacturing, an operations, a distribution type environment, because what we saw, and this is actually a business my dad started almost 30 years ago, and I bought it 26 years ago. And we recognized that a lot of the leadership training that was out there was quite generic, and it was meant to kind of satisfy everybody from banks and insurance companies. But when you work in industry, when you have kind of this industrial focus, it always seems that those courses, they don't quite hit the mark. So we set about to create up this frontline leadership training program specifically to address the needs of frontline supervisors in these manufacturing industrial operations environments.
And that's so exciting for me because in Northern Ontario, where I focus my training efforts, where I can anyway, I'm happy to go elsewhere, but I'm a Northern girl and this is where I love to work and live. There's so many manufacturing and mining organizations, and I'm in the business of workplace relationships. So I help teach people how to play nice in the sandbox, and when they don't, I help them fix broken relationships. And
I love it.
a lot of the broken relationships that I encounter, where it kind of fits into your niche, are because people get promoted from the front line into manager or supervisory positions because of all of the experience they have with the company, the manufacturing process, or the company's process, the customers, the product. All of that great information is worth it's worth gold to an employer. They want to take their existing people and move them up, and that's great. I love that. With unions and the way that they operate, people with seniority have first dibs on jobs, and that's all great. But what's not great about it is that they're actually putting people in manager and supervisory positions who don't have the qualifications or the skills
Right.
to really get along with people. And very importantly, a lot of them are stepping up from their friend group, and now they're having to manage their friends, their previous friends, and even outside of manufacturing, that happens, like even just in an organization that has enough employees, that people have to kind of like step up into a new skill set, and that creates conflict. And
Right.
that conflict I have to go in and sort out time and time again. So I think that bringing what you have into what I have is a really great partnership. So I'm really excited to introduce you to my client base and my people, because I think that you have a lot to offer, that goes beyond what I have to offer. So if we could partner together and really help those frontline leaders get the skills and training, then there's just a lot less conflict along after the fact.
Right. Right. No, I hear you. Um,
So
so go ahead.
well, unless you had something more to say about that, go ahead. But I just wanted to ask you a little bit about the actual course curriculum, and why it's so beneficial.
Right. No, thanks, Penny. Well, first off, I think probably anyone watching the video knows that if you look at different leadership courses from different vendors, different companies, you're going to notice a lot of the same, what I would call the same bullet points. So one of the things that probably people have to ask themselves is, well, what makes the course a little bit different maybe than another course that they could send their people to? And I think it really revolves around three things. One, we've already highlighted a bit of, which is that in our training program, we're using very industry specific language. So supervisors, they can smell a phony a mile away and they have very well tuned BS detectors. So we always use language that they can relate to in industry, very practical examples. And that way they know that this course is meaningful to them. The second thing is we also know that most supervisors, especially in a production or operations environment, they're not used to sitting in a room for a day or 2 days learning things. So that means that the onus is on us as instructors to create a very highly interactive and kind of rapidly changing learning environment. So we use things, whether it be Hollywood movies, we've actually shot a bunch of industry related footage of people interacting in an industrial situation. We use these little handheld voting devices so that people in the classroom don't constantly have to raise their hand, but they still get to kind of give their input in real time into the session. And then, of course, the instructors themselves, which is going to be, at least in our first go round, it's going to be you and I working with the group. They get the best of the best as far as the instructors go who can relate to them. And then ultimately, it's probably going to be you, Penny, that's working with people longer term, and you just have this great way of connecting with people in these types of situations. And I think the third thing that would make the training different is that most people understand that the training isn't just what happens in the classroom. And in fact, to get some sort of an ROI or return on investment, you really want to see your people use what they're learning back on the job. And so we have this really cool online system called the application journal system. And so people, to graduate from the course that we're going to put on, you and I, they have to actually tell us how they're using the course, and they actually tell their management team that as well. So here's what I tried in the training, and here's how it impacted the team. And so the good news is then the companies who send people to this training get to actually see what the results are, and they get their people to tell them how they've actually made use of the course back at work. And that's something that's missing from most courses.
Yes.
So those would be kind of the three main things I think that differentiate us: is the industry specific language, the very dynamic learning environment that makes it interesting for supervisors. I like to say, unlike most training where people are trying to find a reason not to go to it and make excuses for not going, in this course actually people make excuses to try to get in the training program, which for HR managers that'll be a nice treat.
Absolutely. I love it. I'm so excited. So when do I get to tell everyone about our very first course that we have coming up together in North Bay?
Yeah, well, it's definitely, it's coming up in November. So that's going to be our first delivery program for the two of us to work together. And I did want to tell people that when you do look at some of the bullet items that are going to be part of the training program, it's going to include things like how do you motivate and engage people, especially younger workers, so that you get the most out of them. And then another issue, as you know from the work that you do, is how to prevent and then resolve conflict situations. And when we have to introduce change in the workplace, how is it that we overcome that resistance to change and actually lead people proactively? The leaders themselves have a tremendous impact on whether other people in the work group are going to buy into change. And then I think, as you pointed out, managing the friendship and leadership aspects, we also have to help people communicate in a spirit of mutual respect. So they're not talking down to people, but they're also not being so friendly that the people don't take them seriously.
So I'm super excited to be able to announce that we're going to run the first program in North Bay, that you and I get to work together. And what are the dates that you're coming? And
Right.
I'm going to see how many people in my network and all of the people that I know in Northern Ontario can join in on that 2-day program.
Yeah, and I'm super excited to come up to North Bay and work with you. So it's going to be on November 28th and 29th. The 29th is U.S. Thanksgiving, so that's often a good time for people in production. If they have U.S. customers, it's kind of easier to get their people out of the shop. So we're going to be on November 28th and 29th in North Bay. And now the big question for some companies is they might say, "Hey, this course sounds really awesome. Should I send people to the open course in North Bay, or, is this something I can bring into my organization?" And people should know that the course is delivered on site for many companies, and there's a bit more flexibility then in terms of the scheduling. Usually, from an economic standpoint, it breaks even at around 15 participants. So if a company has groups of 15 people that can go through the training, they can certainly bring it on site. We've done it for smaller groups than 15 because sometimes convenience outweighs just the cost of the course. For other companies, they want, even if they have quite a few trainees, they do want to send them to a public workshop because they want them to rub elbows and mingle with other supervisors from other places. So whether it's just a few people to send to the course, or you've got a slightly larger contingent to send, what I would encourage people to do is to check out the link that, of course, you have in your email. But also, if you're watching the video but you don't have the email handy in front of you, you can always go to our website at uniquedevelopment.com. That's uniquedevelopment.com. And there you'll see a link to Frontline Leadership. And under that, you'll see the North Bay course link. And you can register right online. Or, of course, if you want to talk to Penny or I about the training program and kind of get a better feel for it, we can certainly set those kinds of discussions up with you in advance. So I really hope that people will consider sending some people, even if, quite frankly, Penny, sometimes companies can be a little skeptical of training. So even if they just want to send a few people to check it out, and then if it looks good and runs well, you and I are going to run more of these training programs in the new year as well. So it's really just, this is a chance to check out the program, see how different it is, how beneficial it is, and then by registering, they can sample it, see the results for themselves, and then maybe send more people next year.
Yeah, I'm so excited, Greg. Thank you so much for offering to meet with me and, kind of speak about the program from your language, because I can't wait to see what's going to happen when we just, bring what you and I have to offer here to North Bay, my hometown. I'm super excited. And well, let's end this and we'll get it out to the masses. And well, I guess everybody, we'll see you in North Bay on November the 28th and 29th.